What is happening? I hope you have had a fantastic week so far. If you're tuning in, you're listening to the official Electronic Atmosphere podcast, a show created to help all producers and DJs get ahead of the game in the EDM industry. As the competition grows tougher and tougher every single day, because of how fast EDM is becoming more and more popular worldwide, you've got to be taking solid steps in order to progress in your musical career. In this show, we will feature a different artist every single week in order to give you their background story on their career and give free value and free tips on how to become a world-renowned producer. Not everyone on the show will be a big-time producer, but everyone on this show has learned the fundamentals, the mindset, and the right information in order to be successful to make it big time in the future. Whether you're just a fan of the artist we are featuring that week, or someone looking to build a real career in the music industry, this podcast will be worth your time. I promise. This show is brought to you by Electronic Apparel Company, a clothing company created to help spread the word of good music and good health. We help individuals around the world express themselves better through their clothing on their body. And we have everything you need at Electronic Apparel, so please go learn more about us on our website at electronicapparelco.com. In this episode of our podcast, we are joined with a producer from Bristol, UK, named DJ Will Clarke. Will has a work ethic like I've never seen before, and hearing this guy talk was so funny and so entertaining because this guy just has a great personality and he has big goals. From playing 12-hour shows at his local clubs to signing with DIRTYBIRD Records with Cloud Von Stroke, this guy has come a long way because of the work ethic that he has put into the music industry. So please give the show a good listen, and I promise you're going to get a lot out of this show because Will tells you exactly what he did in order to make it this far into his career. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy the show. Let's get right into the interview. So today, in the 4th episode of the Electronic Atmosphere, we are joined with a very special guest, an artist who I've been a fan of a very long time, so I'm very honored to have him on the show. Let's say hello to Techno House Artist, Mr. DJ Will Clarke. How you doing, Will?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. So why don't you give our audience a quick little tidbit about your childhood and where you're from and stuff like that.
So that's deep going in deep first of all, man. Geez, childhood. I was brought up back in the UK in England. It's easy for me to say that I'm from Bristol because that's the closest city. I'm technically actually from a tiny little village. It's not even a village. It's classed as a hamlet in the UK, it's tiny. It's a place called Clewer, which is next to a village called Cheddar, which is actually where cheddar cheese is originally from. So that's a nice little fact for you all. And yeah, I think I pretty much lived in the UK most of my life until I started touring more in America, and now I live in Detroit half my time, and in the UK the other half of the time, and traveling around the world doing my thing really. So that's kind of where I'm from. What do you want to know? I don't there's so much childhood. I know. Childhood is like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, nice.
I've been
nice.
Yeah,
why'd you decide to locate yourself in Detroit?
Cool. That's a tough one actually, because I initially moved to LA when I first moved to America. Then from LA I moved to New York. And then I was going to move back to New York. I went back during those times. I went back to the UK, and then I was going to move back to New York. But I was at the point where I kind of was just bored of paying shitloads of rent, and I was just like, you know what? Let's just try a different city. A friend offered me a place to stay in one of their apartments. When I moved to Detroit, I lived there for like 3 weeks and then started renting a place downtown just to see if I get a feel of the city really. my Detroit shows have always been really strong. I'm super lucky to have like a really strong following in Detroit. So I've got quite a few friends here. That's been like one of my closest friends, a guy called Troy, who owns the Grasshopper. He's been booking me for about 4 years now. So I rented a place for a few months, and then I was at the point where I just decided to buy a property, really. So I bought a house here. Detroit's an interesting place to live in. I'm be completely honest, it's not my favorite place to live in. The economy was obviously screwed a long time ago here, so there's a lot of like poverty here, which is really sad to see. But it's kind of on the up. It's on a very slow up, compared to what everyone says it is. But I bought a place because property is pretty cheap here, and it was more of like an investment for me. I got a dope place. I'm currently in the process of working on my studio here, which is in my house as well. So that's always handy. Yeah, man, that's kind of where I got to in Detroit. Don't get me wrong, it's probably not going to be my home for the rest of my life. New York is definitely an end goal for me. And end goal is probably be back in the UK in the countryside somewhere.
Gotcha. When you're retired from your producing career and your mixing career?
Dude, I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I love this way too much. There's a lot of big DJs and producers that are nearly in their 60s that are still on the road. And I want to. I've got a lot of things that I want to do in the future that's not just based around DJing. I've got mostly based around music, but I've got a lot of things I want to achieve, and I truly think if you love something so much, like you don't need to retire. What's the point of retiring from something that you absolutely love?
Exactly.
It's just it makes no point unless, like, touch wood, nothing happens, but unless like something health wise related that makes you have to retire, then yeah, that's different. But I still wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like you should be, continuing your career as long as you can if you love what you do.
Yeah, and I think I like building brands. I like concepts and things like that. And I truly think that like there's a lot of artists out there that have like been very successful more than once under different aliases and like reinvented themselves. With music, it's kind of an endless thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
I know I like some of my closest friends. They've been big writers for like huge pop acts and then become very big pop acts themselves after a number of years of writing for other people, and vice versa. The big DJs that have just been like, you know what, I just want to produce, and end up producing for a lot of people. So and with music, there's so many ways to so many ways to make money in music, although the money's not as good as what it used to be back when it was like selling hard sales, but there's still a lot of money to be made,
Mm-hmm.
like TV, film, etc., things like that. So I just think as long as I love what I do, then I'm happy. Don't get me wrong, there's always days where you're like, am I allowed to swear on this, by the way?
I mean, sure, why not?
Like there's days where like you're like, well, I can't be bothered with this. Well, not bothered. I just when like everything gets on top of you, and you're like, why am I doing this, etc. At the end of the day, I feel that everybody has that in everyday life. It's just normal life, and still at the end of the day, you're like, you know what, I fucking love this. So it's kind of I'm lucky, man. I'm lucky to be in a position where I do something that I enjoy that much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I also want to transition to a little funnier topic. Can you tell the listeners that don't know where you get your signature phrase, "Do it for the Cuddles" from?
So it's kind of like an inside joke, between three of my closest friends back home. And it was just an inside joke where do you actually know the story? Have you heard of it?
I actually have not heard the story.
Okay, so you got an exclusive here. It's back years ago, when I wasn't as successful as I am now, I was producing music, but I got to the point where I was like, right, I need to lock myself away for like year and a half, 2 years to just like really knuckle down and concentrate on what I really want to do. And in that time, I just split up from having a girlfriend, and I was like, look, I don't want a girlfriend during this. I don't want anything to do with like a female relationship, if that makes sense. So I don't want anyone distracting me or anything like that, or me allowing somebody to distract myself. So like I'd still like, don't get me wrong, I'd still go on dates with loads of girls and things like that, and not loads, but like people in Bristol and things like that. And but the thing is, I'd literally just like I'd just make friends with people. I wouldn't sleep with anyone or anything like that. So like all my friends were like, "What the fuck, Will? Like, I don't get why you're not like taking things further, etc., etc. Are you just doing it for the cuddles?" And it literally just like caught on from there, really. And then I started hashtagging it on all my posts, and then I turned it into a clothing brand a couple of years ago. And yeah, the rest is history. It's kind of like turned it's like made it into its own little thing, really.
It's like it's your personal brand now.
Yeah, I guess so. Like it's quite funny. It's proper goofy, gonna be honest with you. It's like, but that's me. Like, I'm not one of those people that like care about what anybody else thinks about me. So like, I know it's not uber cool, but it's fun. It has a good place in my heart, and it's always funny.
I personally think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny, and that jacket that you have, where it says "Do it for the Cuddles" in the back. I forget what it says before, but
don't do it for the money. It says don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the fame. Do it for the cuddles.
Yeah, that jacket is fire.
That's sick. It's good. It's a good one.
And then, so I'm sure everyone wants to know this. How did you first start getting into producing music?
So I started. I like always wanted to since like the age of 9. I started like learning how to DJ, and I used to DJ like weddings and shit like that and birthday parties.
When you were 9?
Yeah. Yeah. There was like, and like local caravan parks, or like trailer parks as you would call it. Like they're like holiday destinations in the UK. So like there would always be parties there. And like, don't get me wrong, this is like shit cheesy music. But I was always in, like, my brother got me into like dance, electronic music. And then I think the age of like 12 or 13, I went to a school called the DJ Academy in the UK, which was a school that they would just teach people how to DJ. You'd go like once a week on a Monday in Bristol, and they'd do it in a club actually, and there was like a lot of people. There was like 30 people a class, and they'd put you into individual groups on like on levels. I was like at this beginner, and then we all learned how to DJ really. It was a cool like community thing. Obviously I was the youngest. Like I think the next eldest from me was like 23 and I was like 12. And then at the end of all of that, we ended up throwing a party, and I think I got thrown out of the club because I was obviously 12. But I ended up getting let back in and then played. So yeah, my first like actual club show was like when I was 12, and then I just carried on playing till I was about 14, just messing around on decks in my bedroom and throwing parties here and there with friends and little things like that. And then at 14, I bought Cubase, which is music production software. Didn't really know how the fuck to use it. And I had a music teacher at school, Mr. Bailey, his name was, and he was like super cool, like very current music teacher. And he actually came to my house and like helped me out a little bit and kind of showed me my way around Cubase a little bit. And then sadly he left my school, and the new music teacher that came in was an absolute bellend. He was a fucking idiot. His name was Mr. Taylor. And he was the one that told, he was the classic, everyone's got one, but he was the classic person that was like, dance music is not a genre of music, you'll never be successful in dance music, blah 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 blah. So we proved him wrong. And then I went to college, which in the UK college is different. College is 16 to 18. I went and studied music technology there at a place called Bridgewater College in the UK. And I was taught by a guy called Ben. There was a couple of guys, Ben Amos, who's actually quite a renowned drum and bass producer in the UK called Cybin. And he taught me a lot of production techniques, really. We'd like stay behind after classes and we'd like write records together, and just like I just learned a lot from that, really. Although looking back at it, I probably learned more after I left college because I was like more into it. So I left college when I was 17/18, moved to Ibiza, and then I had like a residency out there, doing DJing out in some like beach bars and things like that. And I did that for 3 or 4 years. And then when I got to like 20, I think I can't remember the ages, it's too long ago. I was like, right, I need, me just being a resident in Ibiza isn't going to benefit my career. It's not going to get me any further. I just need to like put my head down and just write music. So I pretty much just did that and just learn and made mistakes and released records that I regret releasing, signed records to labels that I regret signing to, made a lot of mistakes, but they weren't mistakes that was going to destroy my career. They were just the mistakes that most people make because they're eager and impatient, really. I just wanted to be a big DJ, and then by working out that you have to have good music. So I just carried on writing in my studio at home and just like working my ass off in the studio, really. Yeah.
Okay,
That's where we're at.
Nice. And I also want to go back to what you said before, where you noticed that your career was kind of at a standstill. What were some of the main things that you did different that made you really propel and progress in your career as a musician?
There was 2 points in my career that really made a difference. The first one was I released a record called Big Booty on Worthy's Anabatic label. That was the first record that I released that got any real support from any big artists. So literally like most of the big DJs were playing it. Like Jamie Jones was playing it, Eats Everything was playing it, MK was playing it, Seth Troxler was playing it, Patrick Topping was playing it, and that was just when Patrick was getting big. So that was like the first time that I had any kind of recognition from anyone. And I think that was in 2014, I believe. And then from 2014, that year, I quit music, which sounds kind of crazy. We can get back to that later on. Eventually, at the end of 2014, I signed my first record to DIRTYBIRD. And from signing my record to DIRTYBIRD, it's not as easy as it sounds, but my career kind of blossomed from there, really. What I've learned a lot in the industry, it's all based about relationships. So the minute I signed a record to DIRTYBIRD, I just built relationships with everyone on DIRTYBIRD, and including Claude, Justin, Ardy, and all the people behind the scenes at DIRTYBIRD. So Fernando, Darren's the label manager. Fernando is kind of the he deals with a lot of the events. Lisa, and of course Andy, who's Claude's wife. And I think it just being part of that family really helped my career. Claude put me in touch with my agent in America, Max Braun at Paradigm, and from that, I was in a very strong position. My agent is one of the best agents in America. The label that I was associated with it was big in America, but now it's probably the biggest label in America at this moment in time. So I was in a really good home, and all it was up for me to do was I just had to write good music from then. So, and that's where we're at really. Those were the two big things that happened in my career. Don't get me wrong, I'm still nowhere near where I want it to be. Nowhere near where I want it to be, but it's a very good start.
How about you? That's awesome. How about you tell us like an in-depth story of how you ended up signing with DIRTYBIRD?
So I was with my old management company, and one of the guys that worked with that company, it was actually one of Ozzy Osbourne's sons that no one knows. He's not like he wasn't in the show or anything like that, and he was used to be quite a big DJ. His name's Louis Osbourne, and I tried to send the stuff to DIRTYBIRD like for a while, but didn't really get anything back. But back when Louis was a DJ, he toured with Claude for a couple of tours in Germany and around Europe. So he had a bit of a relationship with him, and we sent him one EP, and Claude was like, "I like this," but I actually acted. This was not done on purpose, but I used the same sample as a Zombie Disco Squad record that he just used. So I was like, Barclay was like, or Claude was like, "I can't use this, sorry, man." So then I just went back to the drawing board and wrote my first record on DIRTYBIRD, which is called Badness. And yeah, we literally sent it to him, and he was like, "This is sweet, can we have it?" And I was like, "Oh, cool. This is pretty cool." And then literally probably a month after that, I sent him another EP, and he signed that, and that was my first EP, which was Turn It Up and The Goog. And literally from signing the EP, I'd Skype with Claude like once a month, because obviously I was still in the UK then. I wasn't really DJing much at all. And then it just kind of blossomed from there. Kept
Nice.
in touch with everyone. Yeah, it's like, realistically, when signing music, again, it does go back to who you know, but you have to write good music. And that's the thing that I realized, is that you have to write music that stands out. It doesn't necessarily have to be the sound of the record label, but it has to be good music. And I know it's really hard to say what's good music and what's bad music. Obviously, it's all personal preference, but the label owner has to think it's good. Simple. So yeah. It's kind of, people like, how I want to sign records to DIRTYBIRD, I want to sign records to this label. I'm like, just send it to them. Like, at the end of the day, we live in a day and age where you can always find someone's email address. You can hit somebody up on Instagram. You can DM people. You can private message people on Twitter. You can tweet them. You can hit them up on Facebook. There's like a million ways to get in touch with people nowadays.
Yeah, with social media, anything is possible.
Yeah, and I totally agree. That makes it harder to sign to certain labels because they're like inundated with music. However, like, I know Claude listens to everything he gets sent, and I know a lot of labels listen to pretty much everything they get sent. So there's that thing, is when people complain that they're not getting their tracks listened to, or they're not getting their records signed. It's like, well, just keep working at it. You just got to keep working harder. You can't give up on the like second try. you have to email them like fucking every day. Be that annoying guy that's just always in your face. But the thing is, if you're always in someone's face, you have to have the good music to back up. I think Kill Frenzy did it. That's how Kill Frenzy got signed to DIRTYBIRD. He would like send Barkley like pictures of like super hot girls in his emails or something like that. It was like a girl's titties or a girl's booty or something crazy like that. And like Barkley's like, who the fuck is this dude? And it was like it but that was something special, right? Like it gets your attention. It makes you think like, oh shit, this is cool. Or like I'm just gonna have to listen to this for the fun of it. And that's how you got Kill Frenzy. Like, so I think you just need to keep working at it, really. That's
so for all you
kind of what I did.
So for all you people out there that are listening, make sure you take his advice and send pictures of girls' boobs and butts to get the attention of famous record labels. Make sure to do that.
Yeah, maybe.
No, but I love how you said that because it did make him stand out, though. He did whatever it took to stand out. He found a way to, stand out from the crowd. He, got signed and people listened to his music and it worked, even though it was a funny way to do it,
Yeah, and like we're all normal people. Like you can hit us up on Instagram, you can hit us up on anywhere. I listen to your music, give you advice on your music. It's not hard to ask. And what's the worst someone can say is no. It's not going to destroy your world. It's not like someone's like hurting you if they say no, they don't like it, or no, I don't have the time to listen to it right now, but send me an email. I'll try and listen to it when I'm on the plane. Just ask people.
Yeah, I love how you said that. And I also want to step back a little bit because we're talking about, once people are in that expert stage of, ready to send their record label, ready to, make it to like the big leagues. But how about we step back a little bit and, tell us your beginning stories about like how you booked your first real gig or show.
What do you class as your first real gig and first real show? Because I think like I played a lot of shows when I was younger, but realistically, no one had a fucking clue who I was. If you know what I mean. I didn't have a following. No one knew who I was. I was just that dude behind the decks.
Okay, then what do you
playing music, if that makes sense. Like I don't know what you class as a first real big show, or my first ever time I got booked. Like was like, hey, Will, I want you to play. Was actually there's a DJ called Sam Divine in the UK. She's pretty freaking big in the UK and Europe. I think she's trying. I think she's coming over America actually. She's one of the big girls on Defected. So I used to buy my records from a shop in a local town near me called Spin Central. And Spin Central was just like a local record shop for mostly like hard house. Like in the Southwest where I'm from, they fucking love hard house. And it's awful. It's the worst music ever. Sorry if there's any listeners that like hard house, but it's awful. And I was literally the only dude that would go into the shop and buy house music. And Sam Divine, she worked at Spin Central as the house buyer. So like, I'd go in like once a week. I used to work at a fish and chip shop, like when I was a kid. So I worked at the fish and chip shop. I'd like earn my money and then I'd go home, shower and change because I was stinking of fish and chips, and then I'd go straight to the shop. My mum or my dad would take me to the shop, and I'd spend all what I earned on records then. And Sam was like, we got friendly, and she would run a night in Weston-super-Mare, and that was the first time someone like called me and was like, hey, do you want to come and play for me? And then she was actually the first person to book me ever in Ibiza. She used to run a night in a small like workers bar called Hush, and that was when I was 16. So I guess that was my like being booked in Ibiza was my first big thing, I guess. And how did I go about that? That was just becoming friendly with the right people. And again, going back to that, building relationships up. Like, I wasn't the best DJ, guaranteed I wasn't the best DJ, but like, I'm a nice guy. So people like me. I wasn't producing then, so like, I was producing, but no one knew that I was producing music. Like, the music that I was writing, a 4-year-old could have made better music. So like, it wasn't the fact that I had any talents, really. She knew I could DJ. She knew the music that I DJ'd because I bought a lot of it from the shop that she worked at. And she gave me a bit of a chance, really. And I was only 16. I wasn't technically legally allowed to play there.
Yeah, you were young.
Yeah, I was young. So that's kind of where it started. My first ever booking, I guess.
Okay, and then what do you consider your first big show where you exploded? Or do you have a show like that, or was it just, like a progression of just continuously playing?
I think it's just a progression. I don't know if there's any performances that like changes people's careers, and I'm only speaking for myself because, like, let's say for instance when Daft Punk did Croatia, not Croatia. Oh my God, why can't I think of the festival? What's the famous festival in LA? I literally just played it.
Life is Beautiful?
No.
Lightning in a Bottle?
No. The most famous one. I've got mind blank.
EDC?
No, that's in Vegas.
It's in LA.
LA.
Wait, cut. Jason, did you really just guess that Life is Beautiful and EDC was in LA when Will asked that question? Come on, man. I know you're a little nervous to talk to Will, but you can't be guessing stupid stuff like that. Sorry for all you listeners out there. Let's get right back into the interview.
Find this. I should know this 100% because it's like one of the most famous festivals in the world. Coachella. Fuck. How did I forget that? Punk, like Daft Punk did it was a really iconic. I wasn't there. I wish I was, but I've been told about it lots of times. But they did this really iconic. What's it called? Iconic show at Coachella. This fucking like next level show and it was in the era where America wasn't really into the dance music era, so they were like, "Whoa, what the fuck is this?" Like, I can imagine that was like an iconic moment because you're in a festival where like all the industry's there, all the celebrities are there, all the like rich and famous people that like have a lot of power in lots of different industries are there. I can imagine that being an iconic show for them. However, like, I don't feel like many people have that. It's just literally like chiseling away and building and building and building and just making the most of what you can of where you're at, really. And by really just interacting with your fan base, playing the best sets you can possibly do and making the best music you can possibly make. We all have days where we have bad sets, but a lot of the time they're not bad sets for the crowd. A lot of the time it's just bad sets in our head, and it's just the fact that you're not always going to have the best day of your life, but you might have made somebody else's day the best day of their life, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like, with music, like the power that you can have with music, and when you're playing festivals and club shows and you've got all these people watching you, like, that's kind of a good thing. Like, we're allowing people to escape from their day-to-day life / jobs, kind of like serving a purpose. And music is, for me, music and film is the best way to do that. And it's not necessarily escape, but it's allowing people to just be like, without sounding too fucking hippie, it's allowing people to just be themselves. And like, there's no rules, and there's no one judging you or anything like that. You're just there doing it, like going to enjoy yourself and listen to some good music. And you don't have to worry about everything else that's happened that week. So I think it's easy for me to be like, oh, I didn't really enjoy that set. But then on the social media after, like, I get hit up so many times, and it's like, damn, these people did actually enjoy that set. Maybe I just need to change my frame of mind to like to be where they're at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you are your biggest critic, so that has something to do with it as well.
Totally. 100%. Yeah.
So since we're talking about playing shows and stuff like that, do you have certain tips that you'd like to give some of the listeners on how to create a great set?
Dude, I think it's just practice. It's years of practicing being a DJ in lots of different crowds. When I was in Ibiza, I used to play for like 12 hours straight, or like I'd do a 7-hour set and then a 5-hour set, and then I'd go to that was my day job, and then I'd go to a club and play another like 4 or 5 hours. Just by putting in the time, just like anything, you just have to put the time in. And by being a DJ, especially nowadays, it's not necessarily about your skill with like mixing. The decks do it for you if you want. Like, you have computers. The technology these days means that like the actual art of DJing, like, you're not mixing vinyl, so you don't need to like actually worry about having beat matching and mixing, but you have to be able to entertain a crowd. And I think, and don't take this the wrong way, but in America, it's a very quick way to become a DJ by jumping on a microphone, jumping on the decks, and like screaming and shouting down a microphone and entertaining people that way. Personally, that's not my view of being a DJ. Like, it's a way of entertainment, and it works, and it's great. I think it's amazing that people can do that, and like, they're not really DJing, they're just playing records that they're just playing drop after drop after drop. Where for me, like, I like to take a crowd on like on a bit of a journey, even if I can only play for an hour at a festival. Like, I like to be able to like give people stuff that they want to hear, give people stuff that is like new, and also give people stuff that's like a little bit deeper, and like really take someone on a journey throughout the set, rather than like trying to play every banger in the world, jump on the mic, tell everyone to jump up and down. For me, that's not what I want to do. And I think there's and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm a professional. I wouldn't say I'm the best DJ in the world, but by putting in the hours, and by really like learning how to read crowds, and really knowing music, that really makes you from an average DJ to a good DJ. But I'm still young. I'm still 20. I'm 28, just turned. Like, I have a lot of years to learn, and a lot of practice to get better. Yeah. So I don't think as a DJ or as a performer, it's like, I don't think you've ever mastered an art. You're constantly learning. There's constantly new technology out there. Yeah.
Gotcha. So in 2018, for someone who's just looking to get into it, you think they should worry solely on production when they start, and just spend time in the studio and just keep tunnel vision?
What I would say, give anyone advice to, is do what you absolutely love. And yes, I do find that if you have to write music, it's very hard to become a big DJ if you're not releasing music. But also, if you don't want to release music, then you're kind of just do what you love. If it realistically, like, is it? Yes, obviously everybody wants to be famous, but you've got to really look at, like, are you willing to put the work in to get to be where you're at, or do you just want to DJ? Like, it's just about making decisions in your life, and if you really, really want to become a full-time DJ and become successful, then you have to make those. You have to put the hours in. Doing whatever you do, like, you just have to put the hours in.
Yeah, desire, love, and self-motivation will take you a long way. If being a full-time DJ is what you want to be.
Well, it's doing anything. It's like,
doing anything. Yeah,
it's like being a sprinter in the Olympics. Like, these guys, they're born fast, but they're not born that fast, if you know what I mean. These guys have a talent, and they're born with a talent, but they still work every fucking day to get better. And I think that's what people like. You often hear the term, like, an artist becomes famous overnight. 99.9% of the time they don't. They've worked for fucking years and years and years to get to where they're at. So it's just that hard work and determination, really. Blood, sweat, and tears.
Gotcha. I love that analogy that you made with sprinters, because it really is true. If you're born with a talent to make music, but if you don't work on that talent, then you're not going to get too far in your career, especially in today's age.
Yeah, there is definitely. I actually know a lot of producers that are a lot better producers than me, but they don't want it as much as me. They don't want to put the hours in as much as me. They won't finish records because they're perfectionists. They won't. They want to go out with their friends instead. They want to go to parties instead. They're not willing to put the hours in that I do to get to where I'm at, if you know what I mean. And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of very talented people. However, if you're happy doing that, then great. Just don't fucking moan if you're not getting anywhere because you're not putting the work in. And that is simple. That is the simple thing. If you don't, you'll eventually get there if you put the hours in. Simple.
I love that so much. With anything, that's very true. And so I also want to transition to a different topic. This will be our last topic for our listeners, but when you're making music in the studio, what is your personal remedy to combating your writer's block?
Just depends. Writer's block, everyone has, but it's a very individual thing. So I do lots of things. Sometimes I step away from the studio. Sometimes I just work on a new project and just write loads of little ideas and just keep writing and writing until I get somewhere. Sometimes I'll go and watch a film. Sometimes I go for a walk. Sometimes I go to the gym if I hadn't been already that day. Sometimes I call my family. I call my mum or my dad up. Just have a conversation. Sometimes I call my friends up. Sometimes I go on YouTube and watch like inspirational videos. Sometimes I'll just go and listen to some of my favorite records, house and not house music, and just really try and get inspiration from those. And then sometimes I'll be like, okay, so I don't know what to write. Let me copy something. And I'll find a record that I really like and I'll just copy it and just see what comes out of it. Because I'm never going to be able to copy it exactly the same. And sometimes I'll be like, right, I really like this drum beat. So I'm going to steal it from someone's record and then just write a record around that. And then eventually, if I really like it, I'll rewrite the drum beat. I'll do something else and it's my own record. There's loads of ways I get around it. But realistically, it's fucking annoying and it can really get to you, like, mentally, especially when there's like pressure on. Mainly the pressure is only the pressure that I put on myself. I'm quite an impatient person and I want to write good records. But
how much time do you spend a week writing records?
At this moment in time, I'm not writing as much as I want to be because I'm doing other things as well, like the clothing company and like organizing a lot of things like that. But if I didn't have any of those things to do, and if I had a completely free, like Monday to Thursday, obviously I'm touring Friday, Saturday to Sunday. If I have Monday to Thursday, like with no other work arrangements, no other meetings, no interviews or anything like that, I will literally write. My schedule is I wake up around 7:30, 8 in the morning. I go to the gym for an hour. I come home, shower, and then I'll just go in the studio. And I'll be in the studio till from like 10 in the morning till sometimes 5 at night. And then I'll cook dinner. During the day, I'll go to the grocery store, go to in the UK, like my schedule, like I'll go to the butcher's, I'll get some like really nice fresh food for the evening. And then I'll stop around 5 to 8 p.m. I'll cook some food for me, my friends, or my family. And then if I don't have anything on in the evening, I'll then go back in the studio or I'll go watch a film. So like literally my whole days revolve around making music. If I've got that time where I'm not doing other things that have to be done. Yeah, I enjoy writing music. So why would I not want to do it?
Yeah, exactly.
I struggle when it's like on a plane or in a hotel. It's not my favorite time to write music. Although I've just done a remix for for Cashmere Percolator. I did that on a plane, and it worked. And I really haven't done much else to it. I did it in my headphones, and it worked well. So I played it, and it's coming out end of July. So doing plane work is like, it's not fun, but it's good to like chuck down a few ideas. Same as being in a hotel. But then there's sometimes when you're like, when the work actually, it turns into work and you're like, okay, I've just got a remix coming. I am touring for the next 3 weeks. I don't have a studio and they need the remix in 2 weeks. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? And that's when I'm like, okay, I have to work in the hotel room. And it's like you literally, all plans get chucked out the window. I sit down at the desk and write a remix. And then there's some days where you're just like, I really just want to write a record when you're on the road, and you just sit down and write records. So it all just depends on, for me, it all depends on like how I feel mentally, really, and where I'm at that moment and where I'm at that time of day, or if I've just heard something in the street or heard a sample that I could want to use or had an idea that popped up in my head. I write most of my vocals myself, so I wouldn't call them vocals, they're just like phrases. So like I spend a lot of time just chucking ideas in my phone, on notes, and just writing things down and just take things from there, really.
Nice. And do you find it extremely challenging to think of new, like when someone puts you on the spot like that when you're traveling, when you're on the road, is it really hard to, really buckle down and focus on music when you have so many other things going on?
No, not really. It's just I like to be in a nice environment to write music, and for me, a hotel room or an airplane isn't a nice environment. But also, like, let's say for instance, if it's a remix, like, it depends on the original and whether or not you like the original. Because I won't do remixes that I don't like the original, but there's some remixes I absolutely love the original. So I'm like, fuck, I need to do a really good job of this because I love the original so much. And there's some cases where I do a remix and I'm like, well, the original's good, but I'm going to completely change this. Like, you're not even going to know that this is a remix. And then I just have all like free reign of everything. Recently, I've done a lot of remixes that are like have vocals on. So like my U2 remix that I've just done, or that just got released a couple of months ago, like I had to use the vocals of U2 because otherwise it'd be like, well, what's the fucking point? So like you kind of have, what is it? You kind of have like boundaries, if that makes sense. You have to use certain parts, and then is always that, have I used too many vocals, or have I used not enough? So it's personal preference on each project, really. But I think at the end of the day, it's just experimenting and winging it and just seeing if you can make something good out of it. The amount of shit music I make is amazing. So it's just like some of the stuff, like, and I play some of it out and it works, but I would never release it. I like writing music just so I can play it in my sets. I don't send it to anyone. I might give it to a few friends that I know might like it, but it never gets released. And I've got records that I've sent to friends and they absolutely love it, and I still fucking can't stand it. And they play it more than I do. So it's just, again, it goes back to that personal opinion on something. When I release a record, I'm at that point where I'm like, this is no longer my record. It's the public's record. It's all my fans. It's all the people that don't know who I am. It's their time to just make their opinion on it and just deal with it. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. There's nothing I can do about that. YouTube's a classic one for like haters hating you. I was taking the piss the other day. Like, I did a remix of MK17. And there was just like loads of YouTube comments were like, this is awful. This is nothing like the original. I'm like, bro, it's a fucking remix. It's not supposed to be anything like the original. But like, you know what? That's absolutely fine. I don't really take things to heart, because it's just art at the end of the day. You could see a Picasso on the wall and be like, yeah, don't like it. But that Picasso to somebody else is like worth more than their fucking house, and that's all they want in their life. Music's exactly the same. It's just for me it is anyway. It's just whatever anyone. It's what it makes you feel, and what it makes other people feel is their kind of it's their opinion. It's what they can say.
Yeah, I do love how you talk about how it is art and it is personal opinion, and that's why you can't let other people's opinions get so close to your heart or take it seriously. You got to have short-term memory and just keep chugging along and focus on the people that do like your music and keep producing music for your fans and your audience.
Yeah, and I think that's it. There come points where like I'm like, should I release this? Like, I really like this record, but it's very different to what I'm known to release. And that's, for me, that's where I'm still like sometimes nervous. I'm still not fully 100% confident in like my decisions, but every time I've had that, it's done pretty well. Especially the most recent remixes that I've done, they're a lot deeper, they're a lot more melodic to what I would usually write, and people like them a lot. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure I don't hear about the people that don't like them, because not many people are fucking idiots and will tweet and be like, yo, Will, your last remix sucks dick. Like, there's not many people like that. There's a lot of dicks on the internet, but there's not many people like that. So I don't know all the people that don't like it, of course. And I know there's going to be people that don't like my music. Totally. I want there to be people that don't like my music, because it gives me a chance to win people over. But it's kind of just like, it is what it is. You just got to carry on. And if people don't like it, then you'll be releasing another record in a month's time or 2 months' time. And hopefully people like that. Really. Yeah.
I love everything you said right there. It's definitely something that a tough reality that most people that are starting out need to hear. Not everyone's going to like your work, and winning them over is a big part of it. But I feel like we definitely passed our time limit for the amount of time I'd have you on. And I just want to thank you again so much for coming on the show. But can you leave us with some exclusive information about some of your upcoming tracks and your shows?
Yeah, sure, dude. So one thing that I've started a group called the Cuddle Club on Facebook, and it's open. It's a closed group, but anyone can join. And in that group, I do free giveaways for like merchandise. I like interact with my fans. I offer to take people out on show for dinner before shows and things like that. So tell everybody to join that. It's called the Cuddle Club on Facebook. You can find it on my socials, or just DM me and I can send people links to it to get involved. So that's one place to get all your information. Recent releases coming up. I have a release on DIRTYBIRD to Friday. It comes out actually, which is on Claude Von Stroke's Live in Detroit album, which is actually a record from myself and Born Dirty, which is called Boss Man. It's very like hard techno-y kind of record. And then on the 27th of July, I have two records, like an EP coming out on Green Velvet's label, Relief. That's the Percolator remix and a new original from me called Mercy. I also have I have a lot of records coming out. I have an EP coming out on Shiva Sands label. I have an EP coming out on Solado's label, Solar Music, which is a collaboration EP between me and Bot, which is a follow-up from our techno record. And then towards the end of the year, I'm going to actually launch my own label called Doing It Records I'm just trying to do something a little bit different on the label. I don't want to talk too much about it because I need to finalize some ideas. But you can follow Doing It Records on all of the socials. It's just Doing It Records. The same with Doing It for the Cuddles. And my socials are DJ Will Clarke. And that's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I love talking today, and yeah, thank you so much, man.
No, dude, thanks for having me, and good luck with the show. Hope it all goes well. And
oh yeah, I'd love to have you back on the show sometime soon.
Yeah, dude, I'm down. I'm always down. You got my number.
Oh yeah, let's do it. All right, thank you guys. That's it for today's episode, and we'll see you later.
Take care, dude. Bye.
Take care, man.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that episode because I know I did. Will Clarke is such a funny character, such a great guy to talk to, and he has a work ethic that I will definitely admire for a long time. Talking to him was a blast, and I hope you got a lot out of that episode because he had some great tips to give, and his story is definitely one to listen to. If you want to learn more about electronic apparel and about Will, be sure to check the show notes after you finish listening to this episode. Again, this episode was brought to you by Electronic Apparel Company, a company designed to create great-looking gym, festival, and everyday clothing for our beautiful, fit, and healthy electronic music lovers. Be sure to check out our website at Electronic Apparel Co. for more information. And I want to leave you off with one thing. If you are an experienced producer that feels as though he or she has some great information to offer for all of our fellow musicians out there, please inquire us and DM us at Electronic Apparel Co. on our Instagram. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your week.